It seems like all the parents in town are very busy with all of their parent things, so it's important for the kids as they're leaving the school to remember one very important lesson. Don't talk to strangers. Don't Talk to Strangers here is part of a trilogy of games. I'll be covering all of these individually, but you can go and check these out right now. And this one is the only one of the three that has a board, and you are going to be moving the kids as they are leaving from the school to different locations on this board by playing cards. They will be moving into houses. They will be going to the park. Maybe they'll be going to the public pool. And if you have those there at the end of the game, you are going to score victory points. But of course, aliens are about, and if they show up on the board, they just might kidnap some of these kids, costing you some potential victory points. So let's go ahead and take a look at how this works. I'll show you on the table. I'll see you back up here in just a little bit. To set up the game, we're going to shuffle up the deck of cards. Everybody gets a hand of 3. They get all the kids of one of these player colors. And then you decide what side of the board you want to play on. So we have board A over here with this side. Board B is on the back of that. There you go. Look at all them aliens. So we're going to go with board A, as they recommend, when you're starting the game. And then, on your turn, it's very simple. You are going to play one of the cards in your hand, and they're going to normally let you move one of the kids that begin here at the school. You're going to be moving them around, trying to get them into locations that will score you victory points when the game is over, which is when all of these finally show up on the board, okay? The other option on your turn is not play a card to move kids, but just introduce a new kid, like let another one out of the school. So I'm just going to start with one each, because that'll be everyone's first turn, basically. And then we are ready to begin. So let me show you how that works. So for example, let's say I'm going to play this card here. I'm going to pick a better one to explain the beginning. I'm going to say blue is first. I'm going to play this card right here. Very simple. It says run. Move 2 spaces. Okay, so blue is going to take this one and move it 2 spaces. Any one of these big blocks in blue and in yellow are going to be exits and entrances. So starting from here, they can go 1, 2, right to that spot. Discard the card, draw a new one. Uh-oh! If it's one of these, you have to deal with it immediately. If it's not, just put it in your hand and it's the next player's turn. So this one is a stranger sighting. When you draw this, immediately place a stranger, then draw a new card. Okay, so these are going to go into one of these spots. I'm going to put it right down there, that player is. And then they discard it. That is going to block access to it. And if there was a kid on that space when you place one, they're going to get abducted. So they're removed, and then that player will have to introduce a new kid into the board and try to move them again, trying to get to one of the places that scores, all right? So they did that. Oh, you might get more than one at the same time. So there we go, another stranger. That's going to pop in somewhere. That one's going to go right there. And these might not have been as well shuffled as they should have been. Let's just pretend, because it just got played. So, okay, so they draw a card that's normal. They put that in their hand. Done. Next player is going to go. And they are going to play maybe a walk card. Move 1 space. But there's some other ones. This one, city bus, lets you move between 2 city bus spaces. Those are the green buses right here. There's an equivalent for the school buses, and there's also a school bus right where you begin, so you can jump out with one of those. There are some ridiculous ones like this one. It's called New Stepdad, and it says, move any kid from a home or mansion into another home or mansion. These are the homes. There's a mansion right here worth 7 points. These homes are worth 5. These are worth 3. So you could, it says any kid, so you could take someone else's in the mansion and put them down here in one of these homes. You can, move one of yours into a better location, all of that stuff. So that's how that works. There's also another kind of card in here, which is going to be for seeing if the kids get abducted. So let me find one of those, and I'll show you. Oh, here we go. Look at this. Men in Black. Remove any stranger from the board to be placed again later, then take another turn. That's pretty good. So we've got run, we've got bad bike over here, or rad bike, sorry. Move 3 spaces. You may move through strangers with this move. And there's the other one, saucer. When you play one of these, As soon as you draw it, you have to play it. You immediately choose any kid, whether it's scored or unscored, and you are going to flip the saucer here. You flip this in the air, and if it lands on that side, that kid's abducted and removed from the game. If it is on this side, they're fine. So you can mess with other people by doing that. Now, as soon as you get one of your kids into a location, say this home, then on your next turn, you can introduce a new one into the school here and move them around. So different places, many of them are simply scoring, right? Homes, mansion, the pool. But there's a few that are going to give you special abilities. Like the library over here is worth a single point, but it increases your hand size by 1 for every kid you've got in there. We've got over here the park. That gives you +1 kid to move, meaning you can have 2 active kids on the board at the same time. If you go in here again, you can have another active kid on the board. And this park works the same way there. And then over here, there's this pep rally area in which if there are a lot of kids in here, then they're worth more. For, if there's only 1 to 4 kids in there, they're nothing. But above that, they start being worth 1 point, maybe even 2 points. So that's an area you might want to focus on or work together with someone else on that area. So that's all there is to it. As soon as all of these are on the board, you are going to, boop, that happens, score the kids that are somewhere and they've managed to stay there. Highest score is the winner of the game. So right away I'll say that for me, in my opinion, Don't Talk to Strangers here is, among the trilogy of the games here, the weakest by far, I think, okay? So let's go ahead and break it down. Let me tell you what I think of the different parts of the game. Starting with theme. I think the theme, unfortunately, suffers from the fact that I think the funniest stuff is off-screen in this game, right? The idea of these absent parents. I mean, the town is being invaded by these aliens, and yet the parents are nowhere to be found. The humor is the premise. That's it. The rest of the humor really isn't there too much, right? Throughout the game, there's not a lot of new humor introduced. There's a couple of cards that are nice zingers, right? The stepdad one, I do think it's a funny card. But generally, the cards are move 1, move 2, there's a kid running on that, take a bus, right? So these things are not inherently humorous. I think the premise is what's funny, but I think the funniest thing of the premise is that idea of mom having the neighbors over, cutting a piece of cake for them, and outside through the window you see a kid being beamed up. And that's not the focal point here. So I don't find it as successful in the sort of making the retro, look and ideology with this irreverent theme clash. That isn't as successful a merge in this one as I found it to be in both of these other ones. The aesthetics. The board I find to be pretty busy in this one. It looks retro. It's got a cool look. It looks like an old game, and that's of course the point. The cards, very high quality cards, good artwork on those. But the board looks pretty busy. The kid tokens are fairly small. The 2 boards is a nice touch. I like the fact that they have 2 boards in the game, so you could, that's going to give you some replayability. You can switch it up and play the other side, right? But generally, the game's going to play basically the same. There's not a lot of coming back to it because you wanted to try something different. There's a couple of things. You can grow your hand of cards. Great. You can have multiple kids on the board. That's not bad. But it will play pretty much the same way, except for, hey, we're playing on the board B this time. That's a little bit different, okay? The game arc. The problem I have with the game arc in this one, which is, by the way, not true in either one of these other 2, is that in this one, nothing is ever safe. Really, at all. Once you get a kid into a place, they are not there for the rest of the game. So, finally getting somebody into the mansion just means you have 7 potential points. If one of those cards that kidnaps that kid comes up and somebody flips a coin and picks that one, they're gone. That's it. And if there's now an alien in the way, it might even stay empty for the rest of the game, unless you can, get that kid who can go through the aliens, right? So I didn't like the lack of permanence to achieving something in the game. I think that really does hurt the game arc and the game overall. Ease of play. I do feel like this one is the hardest of the three to learn. It has the most rules, I think, and it honestly, for the amount of luck and silliness that it's attempting to get across, I think it might have too many things going on. Like, just a couple too many rules. There's this sort of too much learning and too much, having to deal with. It's not, I don't want to make it sound like this is a mid-weight Euro game. It's not, okay? It's a very light game, very silly game. I just mean for, like in comparison, for example, to this game here, where you could literally shuffle a deck of cards and start playing. You don't even need to teach the rules if you really don't want to. They'll get it. In this one, you got to teach the rules. And so I found that to be, for how just light the whole thing is, to be a little bit of a counterpoint. And then lastly, tactics, luck, strategy. There are some choices. I don't want to make it sound like there are no choices at all. How you move the kid, which card of the three you're holding you play. If you're willing to take the risk of standing on a space that has that little alien face, that's a risk you're taking until the beginning of your next turn, right? So you need to weigh that. Should you not do it? If you really wanted to, you could count how many of those cards have come out. But to be fair, come on, you're playing the wrong game if you're doing that. But generally, there is no points are hidden in the game, okay? So that's a thing in which if I get a bad card, I will target the leader. And I can see who the leader is if I stop and I count the points. I don't love that. I don't love that there are no hidden points in this game at all. I think that's a little problematic whenever, you're just smacking the leader down and they will lock nothing in. Oh, you think you're safe on that 5-point house? You're not. Are you winning right now? That one's gone. So it all just sort of, you got the people who are doing well, the ones who are not doing so well, and because of the way the deck is designed and the game is designed, everyone just sort of, congeals in the middle somewhere and somebody wins, right? That's sort of how that works. Or you just get lucky with your card draws and you're the leader, but it's always you who draws the bad cards, so you hit other people with them. So that's sort of how that works. I do wish that there were cards that had secret things on them, like this card. Every time you introduce a new kid into the school, for example, you have to take a card and bank it. Some might have victory points, some might not. Maybe they all have victory points, right? And so you bank some of them, and at the end of the game, you have some secret points, or maybe a secret, for every house you populate, plus 2 points. Great. Then I can target houses. For every kid in the pool, whatever. So that would give you something else to think about. That's right on the card. It's not a new rule you have to learn, but it would give you something to think about, something that would matter. And in that case, if I was scoring plus 2 points for each kid at the pool, I might even take one and put it in a mansion or a house so that in case somebody targets me, they go for that one and not mess with my hidden points in the pool, right? So those sorts of things would have helped it, I think. So there you go. Like I said, I think among the three here, which are all a neat little series of games, this is the weakest one. For me, this is going to get a 5 out of 10. As you saw there, it's just all my scoring for the different categories was right down the middle, right? And that's kind of how I feel about it. It's not bad. It works. There's a couple of chuckles in there even. But generally, I would never pick this one over either one of the other two or just something else that might give me a more robust playing experience. So there you go, everybody. That's it for Don't Talk to Strangers. My name is Z Garcia. I'll see you on the next one.